Hey everybody, does your closet lack a door? Well, mine certainly does, and I brought Eli in today to help me install a barn door rail system. Check it out.
We bop and hippity hop, I'm as happy as I can be.
First things first, I got the hardware out of the package. Nice, classy black. Really simple. Now, the way these work is you simply mount the wheel on the door on the stile. These are the stiles, these are the rails. Now, the reason we mount them here is because this is a solid piece all the way up and it has a wood core in it. I center it on the stile and I look about an inch to an inch and a half down. Now, what I have to take into account for is the flat bar. The flat bar is the rail that it's going to get mounted to, so I have to leave enough clearance that the wheel can travel between here and then sit on it after I've got it in place. So once it's in place, I have enough clearance, so I should probably move it up just a bit. And that way, if I have to lift the door off, I know it'll pass through and come back on. All we're going to do now is mark out where the holes are. And what I like to do is double check that we're square. And then I'll transfer that measurement to the other side, 1.5. And because I'm doing 2 doors, then I'll do it on the other door too. So I make sure I get the right diameter bit to match the bolt, so the bolt will pass right through. Line it up on the center of my crosshairs. One little note for everybody at home. You gotta make sure that when you drill the holes, you don't put them on the bottom. Now, with barn doors, when you buy prefabbed, there's generally one telltale sign. The top is flat. The bottom has a groove in it. There's this groove that when you screw down a little T-track mount, it keeps the door from flinging out. You got to remember, this is the bottom, and not to mention the kick plate at the bottom here is a lot higher than the piece at the top. And now for the second door, I'll do the exact same thing. All right, so now we're on to step 2. Step 1 was obviously mounting our hardware onto the doors. Step 2 is going to be deciding on the height of the rail. Now, what's key is getting these doors off the ground just enough so that you have clearance, but it doesn't drag. And you can see I'm about 10 inches to the bottom of the wheel. I need to get that bar, the top of the bar, at least 10.5 inches. That will allow me to have 1/2 inch clearance under the door so we have travel and it doesn't drag. So again, measuring, we'll measure down from the ceiling. We say about 10 inches to the bottom of the wheel. 10.5 gets my door off the ground by 1/2 inch. So that's where I want this rail to be. Top of the rail, 10.5 inches. So the next step, before you can actually put the rail on the wall, is getting a header board up there. I've used a 1 inch by 12 inch piece of rough pine, and I've given it a nice whitewash finish. And all I'm looking to do is get this mounted onto studs, so that way when I mount the rail, which is pre-drilled, I can sink those lag bolts right into this beefy piece of wood and not worry about it. Something that I like to do, and helps make the process go a lot smoother, is I pre-mark all the wall studs. Now, they're behind the board so you can't see them anymore. But then what I do is I take the measurement of where each stud is, and I transfer it to my board. And I simply sink a screw in where every stud mark shows up on my tape measure. That way, when I go and put them in, I don't have to worry about it because I know I'm going to sink into a stud every time. Now I'll sink another row of screws in on the bottom, give it equal suction to the wall, keep it nice and flat, and then we'll hang the rail up. So I've got my bar in position. I've got it butt up against the wall and floating roughly where I'm thinking it's going to go. Remembering the measurement that I just took, 10.5, I'm going to go for that or a little bit less. So I'm about 10.25, 10 3/8. That should give me about 1/2 inch at least off the ground for this door to make travel. That means that my hole needs to be 11 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the first hole marking here, mark it, and then transfer a level line on the same spacings as each one of these bolts, and then mount them. All right, next step, putting the bar up. Got the holes marked out, but before we do that, make sure you slip one of these bumpers on. This will stop the door from sliding into your wall and giving you a nice soft cushioning point. So that way when you open the door, if you open it too hard, it'll hit a bumper and you won't have to hear it crash into something. Knowing what side's front and what side's back is key, because on the back of the bar, you need to put a spacer in. And the spacer has to go on the back of the bar, but yet the bolt's going through the front. So this is where the skills come in, where you actually have to do a little bit of balancing. So once this is in place, you should be set. But mind you, it's a little more difficult than you think. You may need a friend to help you hold this. I put the tip of the bolt on the mark. And now it's just a matter of leveling it out. You should be good to go. Now we're doing 2 doors in this closet, so that makes it double the hardware. Good news is with these kits, they actually come with these clips, the mounting plates. They actually have pre-drilled holes, tapped holes at the ends of the bar, so you make sure that you have the holes pointing to the center, so that way when you put this connection plate on, you connect the 2 rails and have one giant rail. So the key note when you're doing the joiner plate between the 2 rails, make sure that you mount it to the bottom. That means that you have to make sure that the rail is in the right position, so that this is on the bottom. That way the wheels will travel across the top without any interference. Almost done. Last thing is making this door plumb. So I snap my level to the side of it, and remember how I told you about the groove in the bottom? There's a reason for it. It's these little T-tracks. These little guys here are what I'm going to screw into the floor. Put them in an inconspicuous space, probably right there. So that way when the door's traveling and it's screwed in, it'll hold it and stop it from swinging back and forth, keep it in its line, and as you can see on the level, keep it plumb. There you have it, folks. 2 beautiful barn doors hung up on a beautiful rail, ready to roll. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say.